Hi everyone, welcome to Jawaras. Let's continue our discussion of Spring IOC container. In this video, we will look at three important annotations. First is @value annotation, second is post construct annotation, and the third is pre-destroy. So the value annotation is used to inject externalized dependencies. For example, you want to inject the database URL or database username, password, and anything like that which is sensitive and which you don't want to inject in your source code. So that you can inject using @value, and you can do more things like this annotation is used in Spring expression language as well. But in this video, we will only look at how to inject externalized properties like some simple properties from properties file. After that, we will talk about post construct and pre-destroy annotations. So I have already set up the project. Here is our pom.xml file. So we are using Java version 17, and I have added dependency for Spring context, and the version of Spring context is 6.0.11. Then I have book repository class inside repositories package, and we have bean.xml file where we will define our bean, and then we have main.java file inside which we have a main method which is the starting point of our application. So let's print something first if the project works or not. So we can see hello being printed here, so the project is working fine. Now let's do something. So let's create a bean of type repositories.book repository, and in the main method let's create an instance of application context. So application context will be new class path xml application context, and the xml file name is beans.xml. And let's get the book repository from application context. Book repository will be context.getBean book repository.class, and let's print the book repository. Okay, so we are able to fetch the book repository from Spring context or Spring IOC container. Now let's add some properties to book repository. Let's add private string database URL, and in the to string I will print it. So if I run it now, we will see null because we have not defined any value for it. So how to do that? So what we can do is we can define database URL here, but let's say you have different database URL for different environments. So what you can do is you can specify the uh, database URL for development inside your source code inside application.properties file, and whenever you deploy it to uh, production, you can replace application.properties file, or you don't even need to replace, you can just put another application.properties file with your jar file, and that will override whatever you have specified in the application properties. So let's see how to do that. So what I want to do is inside resource folder I want to create a file called application.properties, and here I will create a new variable. So let's say book, I will say books dot database dot url, and its value is jdbc mysql localhost 3306 books. So let's say this is the database URL which we want to use. So here what we can do is we can use @value annotation here. Now here we can use this syntax dollar and then curly parenthesis. and here we can specify the key for this property. So the key is this one, books.database.url. So copy it and paste it here, and let's refresh it. You can see the database URL is still null. So first of all, we need to enable these annotations for Spring IOC container. For that, I already specified in the previous videos that we need to have context annotation config tag here. Now the annotations are enabled. So if I restart it, now you can see the value of database URL is this one, the exact string which we have provided in the @value annotation. So somehow it is not able to resolve the value of this variable. So we have this key books.database.url, and we have its value defined in this file, but somehow the container is not able to resolve it. So to do that, we need to have another tag here, which is context and property placeholder, and this takes location, and here we need to specify the location of properties file. So it is application.properties. So let's use that and restart it. So you can see we got the correct database URL here. So let's say if we don't have this annotation config tag, and if we try to access it now, it's null, because now uh, the value annotation has no effect. So it's like the it's not here, so it won't be visible. In order for annotations to work, we need to uh, put this tag here, and in order for the value annotation to work, or in order to resolve the properties, we need to have this tag here, and with this attribute location, this will be the location of properties file. And if we refresh it, then we can see it here. Now what you can do is you can do this as well. Let's say, okay, let's say you don't specify anything here, and what you want is, if there is no database URL is specified in properties file or system properties or anywhere, you want some default value, so you can use colon here and put some default value. So let's just put default URL. Now the value of database URL should be default URL. So if we restart it, you can see the value is default URL. Okay, so that's how. So if you don't have default value here, and if we run it again, we got some error, because either you need to specify the default value, or you need to have this property. You can have both as well. So let's say we have both, then the property will override. So this is just default. If the property doesn't exist in the properties file, then this will be used, otherwise this will be ignored. Okay, so that's it. Now the next is post construct annotation. In one of previous videos, we have already looked at the bean lifecycle. There we have discussed the post construct. So let's use post construct annotation. So here, let's create a method first. Public void, I will give it name in it. The name can be anything, and let's print this connecting to database and database URL. And let's have another method, public void destroy, and we can put disconnecting from database plus database URL. this one. So I'm just printing something here, but what you would ideally do is in init method you will establish a database connection, and in destroy method you can close the database connection. Or not only database connection, if you have some resources like if you have some files opened or you are listening to something, you can close all of those things in destroy method, and you can initialize all those things in init method. So that is very useful. So if we restart it, nothing will happen because we have not used any annotation here. So to perform any action just after successful initialization or successful construction of the bean, we use post construct annotation. So post construct. So but you can see this is not available to us. For this we need to add some dependency. So I will click here, add my one dependency and this dependency. So if we go to pom.xml, one dependency has been added. So earlier this dependency was included out of the box with Spring, but now you need to add this additional dependency, which is javax.annotation, and the artifact ID is javax.annotation API. So you can add this dependency, and then this will work. So now let's import it, and let's annotate destroy method with pre-destroy annotation, and let's rerun. Now we can see connecting to database being printed here, and then we are printing the book repository in the main method, but we don't see this disconnecting from database being printed anywhere. And why is that? Because in order for destroy to work, we need to destroy the bean or the Spring container. So for that we need to close the application context. But if we go here and context dot close, so you won't find any method called close. So for that there is another sub interface of application context, which is configurable application context. We need to use that. So you can go to Spring Java doc and search for application context, and you can see all non sub interfaces. So there is configurable application context sub interface. So this has all the functionality of application context, and it has some additional fields and, or sorry, additional methods as well. So one of them is close. So this closes the application context and releasing all the resources and locks that the implementation might hold. So instead of application context, we can use configurable application context, and then we can use close method here. So it will close the application or the Spring IOC container. So we restart it now. We can see first we are connecting to the to database, then the book repository being printed here, and then we are disconnecting from the database. So that's all about the value, post construct and pre destroy annotations. So these are very useful. Value annotation will be very much useful when we will look at Spring expression language and aspect oriented programming. And this is useful for injecting the database URL, database username, database passwords, and these things as well. And as I mentioned, post construct and predestor are used to manage the resources, to initialize the resources, and to close the resources whenever not needed. So that's it for this video. I will meet you in the next video. Until then, keep learning. Bye.